What's going on, guys? Welcome back to the channel. So Premium Collection has finally started its reveals, and I wanted to actually give my thoughts on some cards. Really, my thoughts, everything being revealed. So, overall, before I begin, it's kind of like initial impressions of I'm more impressed. So far, I haven't had a stride that just straight up sounds completely busted, though. Some might be too powerful. It is really just kind of like we're so early into the stages of Premium Collection, so that's one thing. But I think overall, so far in this first week of deals, had a lot of pretty good cards that don't just power format, but more so give more actual, more so give more options. I think the G-Zones desperately needed for a long time, especially with the introduction of Vanguards, which, thank goodness, it's been 4 years since the last time we had G-Guards, and believe you, some of these clans really need more just generic G-Guards. About to get it. I guess without further ado, let's begin. So first, we have starting off in release order, and first off we have Dark Knight Aqua Force. I have no idea if that's his real name, but considering I got this from other discords, it might as well be. And Claw Crunch, that's fine. So his skill is activate. Triple, once returned. Cost retire to your rear guard, and your opponent chooses 3 of their rear guards and retires them. If they did not retire 3, the unit gets auto Vanguard circle. At the end of the battle, when this unit attacked, cost counter plus 1, retire 2 rear guards, and stand this unit and gain power plus 10k to lead. So, off the bat, we start with, playing that people are like, oh man, they might get some broken stuff again, and this really isn't that broken. If anything, this is actually actually pretty niche, in fact. For being the cover card of the set, well, one of the 3 cover cards, the other 2 being Actor and Nova Grappler, it's pretty alright. Its main skill is simply just retire 2, which Paladin has many cards. David the starter, the original G starter, you have the stand trigger, you have other cards that just honest to condition are met. So really you can consider that as a retire a rear guard to have your opponent -3. Well, up to -3. Which if you're doing opponent that really has just a giant board, this is a pretty nice option to just kind of pop. But obviously the real thing is you use it with a combination with deck. You use it with a deck that just if I retire in my main deck, say blasters or Avengers, you have blaster cards, whatever you have, and pop the board, you can go into this, and if they want to keep their board low, okay, I will pop say 2 to my rear guards, which I was going to get rid of anyway, to give me advantage. You have to retire 3. And retire 3, now you get the ability to have a reason event. Or countless 1 pop 2, which is pretty nice. This is definitely helping. I've heard a lot of people kind of say, it kind of helps against say the Elite Joker matchup, kind of for decks that just can't really field the board as often, which this is nice. It doesn't power creep Morfessa, thank goodness. It doesn't become a do end all be all stride. It's more of a, if the conditions are right, you can go into this as an option. You don't have to run 4 of it, slam it down every turn. You can theoretically, because you can't afford Professor, but what I'm trying to say is the card is doing what a lot of the collection so far has been doing, and is giving decks more actual options, in which they can actually make plays that just aren't just the same stride, this, because you have nothing else better. Which, thank goodness, I appreciate that so much, because it's kind of in, like, I won't say previous, but still more so like G zones have kind of become scalar. And some other things too, which I have another video working on that later. So overall, I think just a pretty solid card. Let me see. Nothing too busted. So we move on to the G-Guard Shao Paladin, a Dark Dragon Deep Reaver drop. It has the skill of Auto. When it's put on Guardian Circle, choose up to 5 grade 1s for your drop and put them to bottom deck in order. Each card placed, this gets skill plus 5k until the end of the battle. And if you put 5 cards, you can pay an additional cost of Counterblast 1, and one of your units can not begin. So here we go. Shao Paladin gets a perfect guard G, which I believe Royals already did, but it's more so based on Brave. But now this you could argue visual focus or definitely a more later game stride for like non-board decks. And it's pretty good. Straight up, like, get 25k shield, and if you can pay for it, Counterblast 1, if you got that 25, and just turn that 25 into straight up UT. Especially if like that attack is like potentially like game in. There's not really much to say. I'm just like finally new G guards in general are fun to have. So being able for that to be a real thing, I'm like there. Okay. So for just G guards in general to really exist is pretty good, and I like it. And I don't have much to say about it. It's just good. It's just a good generic card. All right, now we move on to Narukami, second claim reveal with Conquering Supreme Dragon, Exterminate Dragon. Stride, obviously, and has 2 skills. The first one is Auto. When its unit is placed on Vanguard Circle, Soul Blast 1 and draw a card for each empty Rearguard Circle in your front row. And the second skill of Act, Vanguard Circle, once per turn, Counterblast 1, and all units in the front row get power plus 10k until end of turn for each empty Rearguard Circle in your. Note this is an act and not continuous, so that means if you call over those cards, they don't get the actual like power buff. So keep that in mind. And here's the weird thing: this card, like, for I'm hearing, is actually pretty busted, despite the fact that it kind of doesn't really seem like it's just doing a lot. I mean, obviously the ability to draw a card is nice, especially against a cell matchup, cell counter matchup where you kind of like pop a thing. But it's very much having being an auto makes sense, because if this was like an act of, hey, you can Soul Blast 1, you just draw 1 after you popped all those cards. It's very much a, you played your opponent's turn, they attacked, use some G guards, pop their front row somehow, and did some attacks, and it goes to your turn, you stride into it, and at least get a draw 1 or draw 2, just because you like popped it, which is alright. The second skill, I already talked about it, because it's not a continuous, you're not getting like 10k from multi-tags and all the over cards. How like Vanquisher and V likes to do it, Narukami now. So it's very much a old school, just beat down, use your Excel markers, beat Show and just go to town, just keep punching. So it's again pretty solid card, pretty good generic card. And this kind of like started my original like theory, which I am still like kind of like working towards, but we'll get to it with the next main stride. But I think the card is still pretty solid. Kind of like additional like works in tandem with Stun Burst rather than try to replace it. Again, like all these strides should be doing, which is do not replace their busted stuff, but rather give more options and probably like some like fill in some holes of of a G zones that have been lacking from. So this one's actually pretty good. Now we go into their new G guard, which is Sky Guardian Supreme Dragon Counteract Dragon. It has the skill of auto. When it's put on Guardian Circle, your opponent chooses up to 2 of their rear guards in the front row and binds them. If they did not bind 2, this unit gets shield plus 10k at the end of the battle. If they did not bind any, this unit gets additional shield plus 10k. So to kind of like set this up, so when it's placed, your opponent now has to choose if they want to retire rear guard 2 rear guards or not. So it's like if they don't choose to retire 2, so like they retired at least 1, you get 10, at least get 10k shield, so it becomes a 25k shield. But if they decided to be, you know, I'd say arguably like greedy or whatever the situation calls for, where they choose not to bind any, it becomes a 35k shield instead. So it becomes bigger the more your opponent is willing to risk. Which, you know, I know a lot of people are like, yeah, this card's pretty cool, and I think it's pretty cool too. It's a pretty nice like G guard that's right there. It does have this kind of like thing of people are going to go like, well, I know a criticism you could say here is, well, yeah, but my opponent gets to choose rather than me just popping them and then getting the shield regardless. And yeah, that's true. I know a lot of people are like, I don't like giving my opponent any option. I want them to suffer. Hear that, Matt? but no, seriously, like, the card's just really good. The card's still a good G guard. I think mostly so far we really had G guards that are primarily from clans that already had like a good G guard foundation. If like we just talked about Shadows, go into the next two, they pretty much had like pretty good G guards, so they're not really hurting for new stuff entirely, but having the option is nice. And so Narukami's no different. I think you're gonna run this like a 1 of, maybe a 2 of, and it will come, and it's like retired rear guard situation will probably happen. If it doesn't, you still at least have a 35k shield just off the bat, at least. So there's that. So next we go into one of the content creator reveals. If you did not know, they announced that 6 content creators, Different Fight, of course, Outer Orange, Commander Jaime, my boy, from WCC, Vanguard Insider, and TIE Fighter will all reveal like six like of their like respective clan strides G guards on different days. So first off was the Lord the Cap himself, Different Fight, and his first one was of course Dimension Police. So you know, I know this kind of formatting is weird. I got it from Cardfight Coalition because I didn't want to actually just type it down myself. So here we go. The card is Cosmo Ringer Unibird Galaxy, and it has the 2 skills. His first one is Continuous Vanguard Circle. This unit gets power plus 10k for each card in total among your damage zone and rear guard. So at max, you can get 100,000 power at 5 damage with a full board. Kind of crazy, and you don't even need to hit that. But there's something else about this card too, and this is the 2nd skill, which leads to my original theory, which is Burst Auto Vanguard Circle. Once per turn, when this unit attacks, cost, flip a card from your zone face up. If this unit's power is 50k or greater, at the end of that battle, this unit gets critical plus 1. And if this unit's power is 100k or greater, it gets drive plus 2. So notice anything I just said? It brought back a keyword, burst, for the first time. Well, not the first time, because the first Premium Collection Stride had, or Gear Congo had time lead and whatnot. but for the first time in a while, we have a keyword focused stride again. And it's for Dimension Police. And, you know, this kind of got to my original theory, which was, are they going to attempt to give the Strider, like, grade 3s from G, like, more their, like, main, like, mechanic support in this set? Which, you know, the original, like, you know, looking at the Narukami Stride, I was like, how are you going to retire before Stride unless you actually are on a Strider? I know there's very, like, cards that are able to, like, retire, like, when it started, but I was like, how are you going to do that outside of, like, a Vanquisher Stride skill or something like that? And so having a Vanguard with Burst means that a lot of your Burst-related support for Gallop is now arguably more viable than it was before, because you didn't have any strides that had Burst outside of your one X Gallop. You know, the one viable X Gallop, I guess you could say. So, you know, having Burst, like, and then having like a card like the Narukami Stride being like something that just kind of says like, oh, we might be able to support those older mechanics from 5 years ago, you know, kind of like intrigued me. And I want to see more, probably heading into like the second week, if this potentially becomes a trend. You know, does Brave get a stride? Does Bloom get a stride that helps them out and everything? And then I want to talk about this probably later and discuss it. So I think the stride itself is okay. I think it definitely is very much a if you're damage denied, you can just get you can go into this and kind of just still do something. If you're like get rushed early, you can go into this as well. Probably pump up to 100,000, get drive, get critical, 100k. They have to eat this PG. You have GE or some other shenanigans that can happen, and it's just pretty fun. It's deep police again, and that's pretty cool. Nothing really too upsetting about that. This next G Guardian in hand, this thing's cracked. We have Giant Armored Beast Irregulars. I hope I said that right. And it's a skill of auto when it's placed on Guardian Circle. Soul Blast 1, choose up to 2 grade 3 normal units when you drop and put it into your hand. And it gets shield plus 5k until the end of that battle for each card figure. So it gets 10k shield, so it's like 25k shield. You know, it's fine. Like, Dimension Police has like a bunch of other like guards that get bigger, so there's nothing really wrong with that. The thing is, one, being able to grab in the current, I guess you could say, like in the current Police build, you have Skyliners, your main grade 3, so makes all your other grade 3 an additional 10k shield. They have Geoma Glass, which gives grade 3's 5k shield for each card version of them face up. So that means, so theoretically, this is like not a lot of shield, but then when you realize what the deck currently does in premium, this goes from not a lot of shield to holy crap, this is a lot of shield. Just innately, just a plus, arguably like a plus 1, because you're discarding for the heal for G Guard, but you're getting 2 grade 3s back. You know, that's like 2 cards. They now have shield value thanks to your Vanguard and your Stride Zone. You know, there's a lot of like actual like value that is there that actually becomes just crazy. So just your Garbodon over here just really gives you a lot more advantage than like what seems the case. Which wow, pretty good, straight up. On to Dark Irregulars, and this one's kind of like probably been like the most controversial one I've seen so far, but you know, let me talk about it for a minute. So this is Abyss King of the Ultimate and Warfox. Has the skill of Auto G Zone. At the end of the battle, your grade 3 Vanguard attacked an opponent's Vanguard that's grade 3 or greater. If your Vanguard is grade 3 and your soul has 13 or more cards, cost counterblast 1, discard 5, destroy this based on card your Vanguard stand. And it has a second skill of Auto. When his unit is placed on Vanguard Circle, you have 13 or fewer cards in your deck. Use up to 3 critical triggers from your soul and shuffle them. This is kind of like I said, this is probably one of the more controversial ones of the releases so far, and I still think it's pretty good. I think the Combos 1 discard 5 is perfectly well costed because you're attacking with your Vanguard. You know how DI works in premium now, kind of like NLK, Barrel Madness, Shara Rock, where you attack with NLK, swing, use NLK, rewrite into Shara Rock, Barrel Madness, attack with your rear guard, attack again, the whole board, call out 2 cards, and you just get a bunch of value. Or you could potentially do some, I don't think you can do as much anymore, but like I think there are plays where you could probably just NLK into an NLK again. I'm not sure. Don't fact me, check me on that. I'm just making assumptions. It's been a while since I've seen Dr. Regulars played in premium. So there's that. But it's pretty much a kind of more of a finisher stride. And kind of like if you don't want to go into, say, Blader Mouse, and you want to do some more NLK, if your deck's not completely like out of cards just yet, where like you're in danger of, you're like in the position where you're not low enough to go into Blader Mouse, but you're not like ready to like not NLK or win again, where you kind of have other options to actually win the game, right? Combos 1 discard 5 is well costed, considering you just did like you're doing a triple restand for them. And just choosing 3 crits from your soul and shoving back in your deck, like that's actually just crazy. I don't think I've ever seen a card just straight up like rip 3 specific triggers and put it back into your deck just because you're at 13 fewer like cards in your deck. Like that's kind of crazy. That's just that. If that doesn't scream like this is kind of like your finisher, I don't know what else it is. So kind of on a controversial thing. I've seen some, I've been around. I've seen some Dark Red players who weren't really happy with this card, more so that they feel like Dark Irregulars is still stuck on the NLK train again and again. Which, to be fair, I understand if you've been playing that format like gameplay and it's been pretty much your only real game plan for a while. It does get stale. I definitely understand wanting to switch away from that. That's the kind of problem with, like, ironically, Dark Irregulars V is like Dark Irregulars in V has some crazy cracked grade 3. We have Sharrock, Rufus in a way, and okay, obviously. What was it called? Not Number Terror, which is more of a rear guard, but digress. What else was that card? Then kind of Dan-Terrian, if that like Infinite Loop hadn't been like shut down. I think you could probably say that Dan-Terrian would have been a pretty nasty card. But like a lot of like the the V like bosses are just really good. So having a stride that like counteracts, like mitigates the fact that you want to stride something is a thing. And I definitely get like going back to things. I definitely understand like just being stuck on the same gameplay over and over again would be very stale, very frustrating, and I get that. But I think independent of like that idea, this card's still good, and I think there's still probably like I still think that whatever that stride was, and was it ET? Was it the last stride that Dark Irregulars got from G? The Darkness one. I think that one is actually still probably at least a decent first stride, at least for a while. So I don't know. I think really it's just, I think it's a kind of another issue with. I'll get to it later, but I'll talk about it later. But I think it's another issue more so with these premium and V collections that's kind of like cropping up more now. But you know, we'll talk about it later. As for the Dark Warriors G Guardian, we have Storm Princess of Mayhem, near Hobbits, which is auto when placed in the Guardian Circle. Counter Blast 1 for every 10 cards in your soul. Choose one of your opponent's units and they get critical -1 times per turn. AKA for the additional like reminder checks and say 20 cards in soul, 2 units get crit once. So basically a anti-restandard tech. So like, you know, hey, you're facing Dragon Gold Lord, play this. That Force 2 is now kinda null and void. Beating is now easier to guard. I think you're pretty much fine. Which means like it's now easier to guard. You're not, you can actually take damage without kind of like being scared that you could just get clapped back continuously. It's a very good utility G guard. Like I said, again, a lot of these G guards so far have been part of like clans that already had pretty decent G guard like fillings. So having more of a utility like focused G guard is pretty good. And yeah, Hobbits like being a G guard to just like minuses crits for a turn. Like, so your Vanguard is already attacked and they didn't get like double crit. Bam bam, you basically just kind of like prevent their some turns if you have a bunch of souls. Pretty raw, not gonna lie. There's not really much to say about her. She's cute. Is that what you want to say? That's all I got. Alright, on to my hated clan of all time, Grey Nature. We got Omniscience Dragon, Ardordis, who can Sam over here. And 2 skills. Act, Vanguard Circle, once per turn. Pause. Flip 1 card in G Zone face up and choose all your rear guards in the front row. They get power plus 10k at the end of the turn, and at the end of the turn entirely. Okay. And auto Vanguard Circle, when this unit attacks, costs counter blast 1. Choose one of your units with 30k or greater power, stand it, and it gets auto Rearguard Circle. When this unit attacks, excuse me, your opponent will call from hand to Guardian Circle. This is called 3 more at the same time until the end of the turn. Pretty okay stride. There's not really much to say. I think it's just fine. Giving the front row plus 10k and then popping them at the end, meaning you can get all your like Grey Nature effects, you know, your success and whatnot active. Pretty okay. You know, I know Grey Nature's like main goal isn't just like pop everything, but rather just like pop, like put all the effects that pop on one card and you get the value from just that. But you know, having like cards that gain success would be like, will go wild from this. Again, part of the whole also supporting like the old play styles of these decks. The second skill is more so kind of like a Grey Nature also has a lot of restanders, which is, you know, the Big Belly, Grade 3, Crayon Tiger, other art I don't know. It has a lot of cards and then a lot of comboable garbage strip as well. So Cardfight can probably just pump up one unit, restand it, swing it again, Crayon Tiger, back there swings again, another Crayon Tiger you might have, swings again, Big Belly swings again. Like, there's a lot of attacks that are potentially there that just kind of become lethal if the right flip up is well. But you know, again, Grey Nature has a pretty good G guard. They already have not G guard, they have a great G zone. They've got Paladin, they've got Magnemar that just kind of gets them where they need to be. And so this is like another option if, you know, Power Roll just isn't like a great idea. You could argue say that you probably use this like a first stride instead of Barrel Roll, so that your other Barrel Roll turn is just that much stronger. You know, I don't know. Again, I hate this gun. I don't want to talk more about it. So let's get through this other strut again. The G-Guard, Omniscience Dragon, the Bectal, it's a Great Nature G-Guard, and has the skill of Auto when it's put to Guardian Circle, Combat 1, and discard the top card of your deck, aka mill it. Then apply the following effects based on the type of that card. So if it's a normal unit, it gets shield plus 20k to end the battle, and trigger unit, choose one of your units that can't be hit until end. So it's a lottery G-Guard, which I'm not sure how Isabel and both the Isabels work with it, but if you could possibly just trigger both skills regardless, that actually is pretty nice. So imagine just like dropping like a normal unit and just still calling it a PG anyway, just straight up like block the attack. That'd be pretty good. And I'd say, you know, overall just a pretty nice G-Guard, another PG G-Guard, which more defenses is good. This game's getting offensive creep constantly. Let's kind of like add more defensives to the G-Zone. That'd be nice. We already got the heal guards from the, you know, we're starting to get to a point where the game is stabilizing again, which is good. And I like, and these G-Guards are like part of the thing where like defensive creep is nice. And I want more defensive creep to keep going. And notice that I've probably just given up talking about this G-Guard directly, because it's pretty much just all it does there. Anyway, bye, Great Nature. Okay, on to Oracle Think Tank. We have Fortune Bringing Nanda Dragon King. It is a skill. It has one skill, which is Act Vanguard Circle. Once per turn, cost flip a card from your G-Zone face up, and reveal cards from the top of your deck equal to the number of face-up cards in your G-Zone plus 2. Call all revealed normal units to rear guard circle. Add all revealed trigger units to hand and shuffle your deck. Then activate all the trigger abilities of the revealed cards. So y'all know what people have been saying about this card, right? Like, oh my god, we can play a Hunt Down the Overtrigger in OTT now. Oh my god, OTT's busted. It's like, guys, relax. Like, this is very much this is definitely a high roll card, don't get me wrong. Like, if this card like hits, oh no, it's over. Like, if this is the over trigger, that turn is going to be bonkers, but it also depends on also I don't even know I'm not sure how the ruling works. There's like, is it just the 100 million power, or does it also proc the additional effect as well? I think it's just only 100 million power, which is still nasty. And then you can essentially just keep the over trigger in your hand. No. Again, I'm not sure how it works. If anyone like has it, has the ruling what it happens with it, please let me know. Just put in the chat down and we can talk about it. So I think the stride is good. It's a nice generic stride for all these like decks that really need the card, except for Tsukiyomi, because that needs its stack, and this messes up the stack, so this is not in Tsukiyomi. Everything else is good though. Everything else is good. So now we're on to one who constructs Yageki, which I did not know this, but Yagaki means fences upon fences. So she is one who constructs multiple fences. Octagonal Magus. So we've got a Magus G-Guard. I don't remember if any like strides needed face-up cards in Magus film, but hey, if it does, then hey, they get one. Has the skill of Auto when this unit is placed. Combat 1. Choose and declare 2 grades between 0 to 3, and reveal the top card of your deck. If the grade of the revealed card is one of the declared grades, add that card to your hand. If you add a card, the student gets shield plus 50k to end the battle. I'm assuming that if it's not the grade, just put it back. So, you know, still a G guard, you still get 15k shield from it, and you really just kind of like draw a card and gain additional plus 15, make it 30k shield. Is pretty good. I think the obvious like issue is you still have the chance to miss if you haven't like set up the top of your deck like well before your turn ended. It's like, oh, I choose 0 and 3. Oh, it's a grade 2. Sorry. That also means you don't get a defensive. That means you also probably don't get a defensive later. If you're on 5 damage, whoops, you might be dead. You know your fate already. Sorry. I think it's okay, G guard. I don't think like it's going to like replace anything completely in the OTT lineup. I think it's gonna be a 1-up. I think all these G guards are pretty much going to be 1-ups at bare minimum, just because it's been so long. You can replace some G guards that are not gonna work anyway. So I think it's okay. Right? It's I don't like saying this often, but like it's mid. It is probably the most mid G guard we've had, which is fine. Again, OTT has like one of their best G guards. This is kind of like this is more so kind of like in tandem with that one, I guess you could say. So there's that. And last but not least, we're on to the second of the content creator reveal, Narukami, and of course he gets Aqua Force. So we're starting with the Stride, Blue Furious Charge Dragon, Irregulars Dragon. It has the skill of Auto Vanguard Circle. At the end of the battle, this unit attacks. Round +1, and put a card for your G zone face up. You get an Imaginary Gift Excel. Choose up the same number of your rear guards as the number of face-up cards in G zone and stand them. Then choose up to one of your rear guards, move it to an open additional rear guard circle, and it gets power plus 10k to it. It's alright. Again, Aqua Force really hasn't really been hurting for like strides at all. Like a lot of their powerful strides are like Valios, Alexandros, Lambros. You know, their G zone is fine. So really, like having an additional like potential like scaling stride isn't that bad. I think the additional Excel means that you can go Excel 2 and get additional draw as well, plus another attack, and then you add, you know, or you can go Excel 1, push harder per game if you're on like a kill turn, and let's just go pretty much do Aqua Force thing. It's an okay stride. It, you know, it's kind of hurt by the fact that I think Aqua Force's like G zone is just already like kind of filled to the brim of other good cards. I still think there's probably a stride I think. I think it was the Blue Wave stride, but it's okay. It's fine. It's not terrible, which I will take. It's not busted. It's not terrible. It's right there in the middle. There's that. And last we have their G guard, Rebellious Heavenly Flow General Dianera. Auto, when it's put on Guardian Circle, can blast 1, and perform the following depending on which battle turn it is. If it's the first battle, choose one of your units and it gets power plus 5k until end of turn. And 4th battle more, this unit gets shield plus 20k till end of turn. Okay, I'll be honest, this is probably like the weakest G guard so far. It's still not completely terrible because it still gets a giant shield later on into the actual turn. So if you're going against like a very, very high multi-attack deck, it is able to like, it's a little bit more flexible because of that 4th battle more clause. And then first battle, you can play it. Your Vanguard gets just 5k completely, so it turns from 13k to 18k. Meaning like if you're going against like a low power deck, it becomes harder for them to actually get attacks through, easier for Vanguard to turn, and etc. etc. I think the Aqua part is because of, you know, again, Aqua Force's G-Zone, I think, in terms of G-Guards, isn't great, but I think, you know, it has a lot more actual, like, probably better options. Like, you have the Unflipper G-Guard, you have G-Flip G-Guard, you have Storm G-Guard, you have a lot of, like, other, like, G-Guards you probably would do a little bit more in search of situations like this. Not to mention requiring counterblast for this is costly in a deck like Aqua Force, which doesn't really have like a good connection to countercharge all often. So it very much is like dependent on like other factors going right for it, and it's very situational, I'd say. That's kind of it. And that's pretty much it for all the reveals so far. Overall, I think so far we haven't had like a straight up standout, but considering how the state in which premium has been for a good while, I think not having a standout is good. I think having more meticulous pieces right now are good. You know, I think some clans, like say a Neonectar, need a Stride that's going to help them kind of get back into the fray and do more things. I think clans like Narukami need their G-Guards to actually be a G-Guard that's actually going to be strong enough that they can actually play it and not just hard guard with heal trigger. And, you know, kind of stuff like that. I don't want another Nue Dio. I don't want another Katrina. I just want them to have good cards that just kind of help them get to where they need. So that's pretty much it. You know, kind of like a small update, I guess we say, is starting. You know, I'm starting to go back to streaming again. You can find it on twitch.tv/rf_zex. I'm currently going to stream more of the Gundam Evolution beta. Probably going to start my Trails guide playthrough again. Restart one more time and actually just get through it so I can actually start playing Trails from Zero fresh when that comes out. I'm also probably going to say, like, in a couple days, like, play more Vanguard area, just get some games in to actually show on the channel, whatnot. And I've kind of talked about this on Twitter, but eventually the podcast is planning to start back up sometime this month. There'll be more details of that when we finally do it. So there's that. Other than that, thank you all for tuning in. Be sure to like, comment, subscribe, and I'll see you all next time. Bye bye.